This is an updated introduction into the SolarEdge monitoring platform. We're using a new site that was recently installed in order to provide some additional insights into how to assess your system's performance, as well as know when to take action in the event of an issue. Upon your system's installation and commissioning by the utility, your installer will provide you site owner access through their admin settings, and you will receive an email from SolarEdge that looks like this. When you receive this email, you'll simply follow the link here. It will take you to a site where you'll put in your name as well as select a password for your system, which will allow for you to log in. And you will see a page that looks very much like this, with the exception of there will not be an admin tab here on the top, just these 5 here. The dashboard provides you a snapshot of your system's performance, both presently as well as historically, as well as some other helpful information along the side, such as your weather forecast for the next few days and the environmental benefits. This simply shows the offset that your system is producing in comparison to if your system was being, the energy your system is producing was being generated by fossil fuel sources. So already in just less than a month, the system has offset the amount of carbon that would need to be sequestered by 34 trees in just a short period of time. So pretty helpful impact. The Power and Energy tab shows you the system's performance both today, we can see on a timeline, as well as over a week. We can see day by day how the system's production has varied, as well as over a month and a year. When we go down to the bottom, this is the comparative energy section. Systems that are older will have more data here to compare, but one that is particularly helpful is this comparative energy compared to the estimated energy that will have been put in by your installer. This will not always be in place because some installers, this requires a little bit of extra work in terms of figuring out month by month distribution of the system's total annual estimated production. What is most important to understand about this is that these are not necessarily tried and true numbers, and there will be a significant amount of variability due to weather patterns month over month. So if you have one month that exceeds your estimations and one month that is well below, don't be alarmed by that. There are far more helpful assessment tools in order to determine if there's an issue with the production of your system. Now, if your system is consistently underperforming from what your installer suggested it would, then that may be something that is worth looking into, and it's possible that your installer may have overestimated production when they did the system's proposal initially. Now, getting into some more detailed looks into the system, here we can see the system's production on a module by module basis, as well as an inverter by inverter basis if you have multiple inverters. The system happens to only have one inverter. But you can see here, these are the various modules laid out on the roof and their stringing, as well as their current production. You'll see that if we go up here and we look at this playback tab, we can see the system's production over either a day, which in this case we'd just be looking at for today, and this will show us how each module has performed based upon the time of day. Now, it's winter time here, it's the month of February, so obviously modules on the north side of the roof here, which are facing 330 degrees, are going to produce significantly less than modules on the south side. Come summertime, over here in Hawaii, these modules on the north side should actually exceed just slightly the performance of these modules on the south side. Those of you in further north hemispheres, this will be the case. Modules on the south side will always outperform, assuming there's no shading factors or other degradation factors at play. So if we look on a weekly basis, this will give us an idea of each module's performance, and this is a helpful look, because if we just scroll over time, we'll see some things happening here day by day pretty consistently. So we'll pause right here just to see these two modules are a little bit darker. Darker in color means lower production, and as the day goes on, we can see that these two modules also start to drop off in their production, and if we go to the next day, we'll see the same trend, and so on and so forth. Now this is not a particular issue with these 4 modules, or these 2 in particular. This happens to be due to a shading from a large hindrance on the roof. These were positioned as far away from this hindrance as possible, but we knew that late afternoon shading, especially in the winter time, was going to be inevitable. So you can see a slight impact on the performance of these modules in the late afternoon, where they're dropping to about 60% of what the rest of the production is from the rest of the roof. Now granted, this is later in the day, so not as significant of an impact. But looking over time, if you start to see isolated issues in the system that consistently show up, say this module out here was consistently showing up darker, and there's no shading at play, then there may be something else going on. Either there's a failed bypass diode in the module, or a bird has decided to poop all over it and you're getting significant amount of shading over parts of the cells. These are all various factors that could impact a module's performance. And you'll be able to see that and know that something needs to be done about it. Now, in the event that there is a significant issue in the system, you'll receive an alert. So we'll just skip directly to the Alerts tab. This system has had no issues, no alerts. If there's a communication issue with the inverters over Ethernet or Wi-Fi or cellular, however it was set up, that will show up in here. If there's a underperformance at the inverter level or even at the module level, you'll also receive an alert for that. These alerts are ones that you want to keep a tab on over time, generally speaking, not necessarily take action on the first time you receive the first report. You may get a severity of an alert that shows a big red X, which means that it's a high level impact. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that this is an issue that needs action taken on it. It just means that it's one that you want to keep track of. In the event that there were a red X alert here, then you'd want to see the next day and the following day if that same issue continues to persist. Oftentimes communication issues and even production issues can be resolved one day over the next for various reasons. It's the ones that continue to show up day after day that you want to take action. So in the event that you see an alert that has consistency to it and it is a severe event, then you want to contact SolarEdge or contact your installer in order to get that looked into. SolarEdge is very good with their tech support, so it helps to open up an alert case with them to have them look into what might be going on with the system. Now going back to the Charts tab, this is a tab that allows for you to chart different characteristics of your system on the same graph. And you can chart 2 variables at the same time. So here we see energy as well as temperature graphed on the same plot line over time, and this is over a week's period. These graphs may or may not be very helpful to you. So if it's just your own residential system, this is kind of fun if you're curious just to see how the different variables may impact this. But this is something more for analytics if in the event of assessing performance over time or trying to determine a system issue. The Reports tab provides some basic reports. The most commonly used one is periodic AC energy, and this is just going to give you a snapshot of your system's production over a period of time by inverter. So if we wanted to go from, say, the start date of the system, which is when it was first turned on, to today, now granted there's a significant period in here where there's testing done on the 7th and then a couple weeks where the system was off. But nonetheless, we can see what this report looks like. It will export it to a PDF, and we can open that here, and it tells us inverter 1 by the serial number, how much was produced in total for the site. So it's just a quick snapshot of what your energy is. These other reports are more for installers or technicians who are doing analysis on the system, not necessarily something that you would probably need to worry too much about as a site owner. And that pretty much wraps it up. So enjoy your system's performance, and as always, feel free to contact us if you have any questions or feedback. Aloha.